Welcome to Agriculture in Review, a news program of interest to South Dakota farmers and ranchers, brought to you by the South Dakota Farmers Union. This is Dick Ricci, and we're happy to have with us today Ben Radcliffe, State Farmers Union President. President Radcliffe, there has been a lot of talk by government officials in Washington lately, laying the blame for inflation on high food and farm prices. How does your organization feel about these statements?
Naturally, Dick, we are greatly disturbed over these outspoken and adverse statements, and we have lodged a protest to the President, Secretary Freeman, and our congressional delegation. There can be no justification for anyone, especially in the U.S. Department of Agriculture, being elated over an expected drop in farm prices when farm parity price rates are still at 18% below parity, and when per capita farm income is $900 per year below the per capita income of non-farm citizens.
But isn't it true that farm prices have been on the increase the past year?
Yes, but you also must consider that the prices farmers receive are the same today as the average of the two-year period, 1947 to 1949. And while farmers are getting the same for their products now as they did then, the items they buy for their business have skyrocketed in price. For example, farm machinery compared to the 1947-49 period is up 80%. Motor vehicles have increased in price 62%, and building and fence materials are up 32%.
This is most informative, but I am sure that you are also well aware that the average housewife is still highly critical of prices at the supermarket.
Well, this is understandable, Dick, because probably she does not realize that she is today buying more and better food for a smaller percentage of her family's income than did any people in the world at any time in history. Americans today spend less than 18% of their income for food.
Well, how does this compare with the cost of food in other countries?
In Western Europe, for example, it takes about 30% of the family's income for food, and in the Soviet Union it requires roughly 50%. Food is probably the most treasured commodity in India, Red China, and other countries where upwards to 75% of the family's earnings go to buy grossly inadequate food and clothing.
This certainly indicates, President Radcliffe, that American consumers are a favored group when it comes to food.
Yes, food is the greatest bargain available to Americans. We sympathize with them in the over-the-counter price, but until the goal of parity is reached, farmers are entitled to price increases, and their cost of production can only be met through increasing prices for farm produce. Besides, consumers should be given the true story that the food price hikes were not conceived by rising farm prices. Processors and retailers often use the farm price boost as a lever to grab more of the consumer's dollar, and the blame is laid on the American farmer.
If you believe it is so imperative that farm prices increase, then what do you think is the reason for actions by the administration to apparently hold the line on any farm price increases?
Well, some people in the present administration are evidently determined to stop any further increase in the cost of living, even at the expense of holding farm prices well below parity. What is needed is some clear thinking on the part of administration leaders and their budget-conscious policymakers. Efforts should be renewed to help farmers reach parity, which in the long run would benefit consumers, too, because of the stable food prices and adequate supplies.
Our time is about up, President Radcliffe. I want to thank you for being with us today on Agriculture in Review and sharing your views on this serious problem with our listeners.